Kanu writes, Trump backs U.S. action in Nigeria. Detained IPOB leader Nnamdi Kanu has written to the U.S. President Donald Trump, alleging a hidden genocide against Judeo-Christians in Nigeria's southeast and urging Washington to intervene. In the letter, Kanu described himself as a prisoner of conscience, claiming his ongoing detention is politically motivated, despite a 2022 Court of Appeal judgment that discharged and acquitted him. Kanu accused the Nigerian military of carrying out state-sponsored killings under the guise of counter-terrorism, naming former Army Chief Tukur Buratai and current DSS Director Yusuf Bichi among those he once sanctioned under the U.S. Magnitsky Act. He urged Trump to order an independent investigation into alleged massacres, impose targeted sanctions, and support a supervised referendum for the Igbo people. The IPOB leader praised Trump's recent warnings of possible U.S. military action if Nigeria fails to protect its Christian population, saying it ignited hope for millions facing persecution. Kanu maintained IPOB's commitment to non-violence, insisting that self-determination remains the only peaceful path to justice and freedom for his people. Victor Iniche, what is your take on this story?
Well, you know, this particular issue of Nnamdi Kanu is a very sensitive and delicate matter. I don't think I envy anybody in that position of the presidency to tackle it. It's quite sensitive, and I don't think it's a matter that can be easily and simply addressed. It's technical. We all know what has been happening with Nnamdi Kanu, and the recent letter that he wrote to the U.S. Embassy to Donald Trump, through the U.S. Embassy to Donald Trump, for me is just another tactic, just to achieve whatever goal that he has been, trying to achieve, good or bad. Nnamdi Kanu is a very important figure in our country today, in the sense that he has a major influence to a lot of things, especially in the southeast. However, some of the things that he has said, that letter, for me, I find as being hypocritical. They are not the kind of things that there's no sincerity,
What could you elucidate?
Hidden agenda.
Could you elucidate the points, the things you don't agree with?
Yes. He mentioned how non-violent is the approach. It's an approach that that he has been using and will continue to use. But you and I know that is in contrast to several evidence of him going the other line. We've seen and heard him broadcast and tell a lot of people to kill. We've seen and heard a lot of actions that were detrimental, violent. In this case, not just to anybody, but to the people that he also, quote, is trying to alleviate from certain stronghold. So for me, I think it's inconsistent with his actions and what he's saying now. Yeah, I understand he's trying to get some reaction from the President of the United States, especially with regards to this recent, back and forth of the action, the possible action of the United States in Nigeria. So all I see is him trying to take advantage of the current situation. Like I said, it's a strategy, an approach that everybody, for good or bad, strategy. This is for him a strategy to get some sort of attention, to that would maybe sway the legal organ of Nigeria or the presidency to rather take a different path as what they've been taking. And unfortunately, I don't see how that is going to work. Rather, it's going to further incite certain feelings from the Nigerian government. Because the truth is, the matter is in court, and you've been told to defend, open your defense.
Has he been? He is saying that in 2022 he was discharged and acquitted, and despite that, despite that judgment, he's still in detention. Do not forget, at some point he was even granted bail. and he
Yes.
was still in detention. So, which now begs the question, what exactly is going on? And I can give you names of people who have faced the same treason charges in Nigeria, and they are free. There are still people in Nigeria who have faced the same treason charges, and they were, granted freedom. They were allowed to go home from detention on account of ill health. These are ongoing, these are things that have happened. It is in the archives, it's in the record. I think there was a particular day on my program that I listed about 11 people. I mentioned the date, the time. Showore was one of them as well, right? And he's walking free, and he's doing protest, and he has a treason charge against him. And at no point have I heard that he has been discharged or acquitted by a court. Sunday Igboho, on the other hand, ran to Benin Republic when he was faced with similar crisis in Nigeria. Now, after Buhari's government ended and Tinubu became president, Sunday Igboho, your guess is as good as mine, is in Nigeria working a free man. So make it make sense to me. In the case of Nnamdi Kanu, there has been a clear acquittal, discharge, and acquitted. He has been granted bail even prior to this one. So why is he still being detained? You see, when you say Nnamdi Kanu is being hypocritical, one would also ask about the position of the judiciary, the position of the federal government, if it has been fair on Nnamdi Kanu, considering that there is a history of others who have faced the same similar charges of treason, and they are not being detained as well. Go ahead, Victor.
You know, when I started, I mentioned something. I said this issue is a very sensitive issue, and Nnamdi Kanu is one person that you cannot ignore his influence in the current Nigeria. Also, I've tried not to discuss his case per se, because what I was trying to address was, like you read out, the letter he read out to Donald Trump. So I'm trying to stick to context to ensure that, because if you want to start talking about the irregularities and the inconsistency of the Nigerian judiciary, we can take a whole week and will not exhaust, how inconsistent our judiciary.
But the question I asked you was part of what was in his letter. The question I asked was part of what was his detention, despite being acquitted by a court, is part of it.
Yes. So you remember he talked about non-violence approach.
Mm-hmm.
And it's clearly not true. The facts are there. That is when I say he's being hypocritical. He's saying when you come and say we are going to continue the peaceful approach that we've been going with, and you and I know that it is not true. It has not been peaceful. Look, I had a certain business in the southeast somewhere in Umaya that I used to do. It stalled because why? Mondays that were supposed to, people do not move. Monday is now a Saturday, the southeast. That is part of the influence. Now, how does that benefit the people in Abia State? How does that benefit the people in Enugu? How does that benefit the people in Onitsha? How does that benefit the marketers, the people in Aba? That is not of no benefit, but it's part of the influence, because if you come out, you will be met with serious violence. There was a time I was traveling back to Port, and I passed through Aba, and somebody told me you have to stop because you cannot pass. It's risky and dangerous for you to go because of the time on Monday since you were not able to pick up. And I'm saying these are because of the violence. So all I'm saying is that it is not true that he has been applying non-violent approach. That is, you're being hypocritical for you to say I've been approaching it peaceful, and that is my opinion. That is all I said.
Right.
I also stated the fact that it's a strategy. It's a strategy for him, to use this whole issue now to influence his case, which is not wrong. Like I said, good or bad is a strategy. As long as it favors your cause, that is fine. So while I'm not going to discuss the inconsistency of the court, you know that we've talked about that a lot in of cases, that the legal institutions have messed up, have given judgment that are somewhat inconsistent with morality and logic. We agree all of that. Yes, he has been granted bail by a competent court of law. He has been, but was still rearrested on new charges that he has got, trumped up charges. While I am not a legal person, I understand that yes, he should be let go. If the court, if the country is a country where the legal consequences are feared and respected, he should have been let go just like he was in the first time when he was granted bail. If he was let go, let it be that okay, you let him go and you rearrested him based on new charges, but he was not let go. The same, just from that same court, they continued, kept him in DSS custody, not even taking him, kept him in DSS custody, and then re-enlisted new, new
fresh charges.
And they say this. So we know that inconsistency. I acknowledge that inconsistency. I'm only addressing the issue of the letter and what he said and what I think the approach is. For me, like I said, I don't admire President Tinubu in this instance because this matter is sensitive. The question is how you handle this matter would either make or mar the future. So, but it is the consequences is largely on Tinubu and Tinubu's presidency. So, unfortunately, it is not my prerogative to decide how we go or you. So we're only going to sit down and watch why Tinubu takes a decision. But to add to what you said, we have a lot of cases where people have been charged. He has not been convicted. He was charged with treason. And if a competent court of law had earlier given him his freedom, rights to bail, why not release him? The question goes to the federal government, and we agree that that should have been done. But in terms of the current context of what we're discussing, whatever move he wants to make is a move that would, or should he presume, would favor his case. Either it influences the judgment or the court, or also influences the presidency to probably maybe take a different stand. But for thinking that Donald Trump will be the one to come and influence or directly influence his case, I think that is not going to happen. Because in as much as we have incompetency, flowing in our country and leadership, I don't think that Donald Trump will come and make the decision for the Nigerian government. And Nnamdi Kanu, will unfortunately or fortunately, whichever nation, need to answer in court the charges that he has been labeled. He has called them that the charges are not nonsensical. That's the word he used. So I think since the case is in court, he should go and prove, whatever argument he has.
All right.
And hopefully the court will, is an objective listening to what he has said and do right, by the judiciary.